Everybody loves Fort Collins, Colorado. In fact, consistently it's named as one of the top places to move, top places to live, top places to raise a family, but no place is perfect. So today's video, we are going to talk to you about the 3 reasons why not to move to Fort Collins in 2022. Now this was one of my more popular videos back in 2021. Go check that out. These are 3 new reasons, and I think I'll update this on an annual basis. Not to say these are the 3 worst reasons, because we definitely have some honorable mentions, but what's up everybody? My name is Patrick Soukup with Soukup Real Estate Services here in Fort Collins, and today we are going to talk to you about the 3 reasons why not to move to Fort Collins, Colorado. Enjoy. Alrighty, some honorable mentions. We talked in the video in 2021 about snow, hail, the single season. Those are all still very much reasons why you might consider not moving here. Snow, it could absolutely snow in May or September. But it could also be just like this last year and be 70 degrees all the way up until November. So that's what Fort Collins is. It is a roll of the dice, but thankfully weather predictors are getting pretty good, so it's something to take into consideration. Other than that, hail. Hail is absolutely something that will hit us in the July, August, maybe September months, but really the kind of the driest, most arid time of the year for us, and it kind of jumps around. We haven't had a hailstorm in the last couple years, knock on wood, but if you're looking at getting your roof replaced, maybe you're praying for a hailstorm. And the single scene, yeah, sure, if you're in college, it is a great time and a great place to be a single. But if you are older, maybe out of college, post-college, thank goodness for the dating apps of the world, because in my opinion, Fort Collins isn't necessarily a phenomenal place to meet other singles. Now, some other honorable mentions are local cuisines. There's just not, tons of great eateries. There are a lot of them, don't get me wrong. If you haven't tried La Buena Vida on the southeast side of Fort Collins for some Mexican food, I absolutely recommend it. And there are other hole-in-the-wall places to eat all over the place, but there's not a ton of fine dining options if that's your thing. If you are also into shopping or fashion, I had a client that asked me about where should they go buy a new pair of pants, and I was like, man, I pretty much buy all my pants online these days because I don't really necessarily have a men's store that I really like going to. Now there are some, Jose Bank and others for kind of like nicer clothes, but as far as fashion, trendy, honestly, wearing a pair of Old Navy jeans right now. But if you're a woman, there are some pretty good higher end boutique and some affordable places, Sierra, Tula, Sunday Supply, different options for you here locally that might be able to kind of fill your need. But if you really want to go have a full day of shopping and no lack of options, you're probably going to head to Boulder or down to Denver, Cherry Creek area. And the final honorable mention is, and I didn't really put this on there because, well, honestly, it's an issue for the entire United States. Housing costs. Now, housing costs is all about perspective. If you're moving here from Des Moines, Iowa, our housing costs, rental rates are ridiculous. Now, if you're moving here from Boston or the Silicon Valley or Northwest, our prices here are pretty attainable. Our rental rates are great, and the cost of buying a house, you can pretty much get triple the house for a third of the price if you're coming from California. And same thing with Boston, you're getting more bang for your buck. So perspective is key. So I left housing prices off for now, but it is something to take into consideration depending on your income and where you're coming from, where you're moving from, and what your perspective is. So definitely something to take into consideration. Now, without any further delay, let's jump into the top 3 reasons, or I should say 3 reasons not to move to Fort Collins, Colorado in 2022. And number 1 is our consistent development, construction, and population growth. As mentioned at the very beginning of this video, Fort Collins continues to be listed as a top place to move and to live. People are reading those articles. They are doing their due diligence. They are watching this YouTube channel. They are exploring why Fort Collins might be one of the top places to live, and with the ability to remote work, considering potentially moving to northern Colorado. And although our population is still quite small, under 200,000 people, we are growing at a pretty decent clip, between 1 to 2% annually, dipping closer to the 1% as our population grows, but still seeing significant population growth. And with that, construction, development, and it just continues. We'll see a lot of multifamily development, as stated in previous videos, the new developments. A lot of those are multifamily, and I don't necessarily see that slowing down anytime soon. Right now in Old Town, there's 2 cranes. I can't tell you when the last time I saw a crane in Fort Collins, Colorado. Now, they're still not huge building heights, but they are getting taller. So I don't know how or what that's gonna look like. There are huge, development review processes and neighborhood meetings to discuss these types of developments and buildings. So there are still going to be lots of barriers for the developers to overcome that building height. But I do see 2 cranes in Old Town right now when I used to never see any. So number 1 reason not to move here is if you are not about the growth in the population, which then results in significant amount of construction in and around all of Fort Collins. Number 2, patchy cell service. Now, I personally have not had too much issues with cell service, but in Old Town Square, for instance, between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m., that cell network is getting pretty jammed up, and it can slow your data down significantly, as well as there are just little patches here and there. I can tell you when I show property in Golden Meadows in Fort Collins, I am on Verizon. There's no such thing as a FaceTime showing, period. It is dead, 1 bar, and that's being generous. So I take video and upload it to a Google Drive when I am later connected to internet. From there, over on West Chase, where I used to have, we used to have a house over in West Chase, I was concerned because we have a portfolio of investment properties. And if there was ever a maintenance call, I was concerned that I would drop it because I would consistently have dropped calls. From there, over at Auto Pint, you're not gonna I have business meeting there for a reason. I don't get phone calls, so I can't get interrupted when I'm sitting there. And from there, the hospital has a dead zone, and there are a few other dead zones that I can name, and that's just a few in the area that I know about. So patchy cell service, if you're on Verizon, I've also heard the same thing with AT&T, is pretty horrible here. T-Mobile's a little bit better, and there are some other options, but we live in a gig economy, and fortunately a lot of places do have Wi-Fi, so you can connect to a Wi-Fi system. Fort Collins does have Fort Collins Connections. It is our municipal funded fiber gigabyte speed internet, and we actually just got that at our house, and I absolutely love it. So fortunately, you can connect to Wi-Fi in lots of different areas, establishments, coffee shops, your house. But if you are needing to work in a hotspot from your phone, the cell service, if you are on Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile, is not the greatest. So number 2 reasons not to move here is the patchy cell service throughout Fort Collins. Number 1, and this kind of just recently came up on my radar. It's been in the Coloradoan, which is our local newspaper here, a couple times. It's been commented on my YouTube channel, and well, just personal experience over the last 2 summers, I can attest to the air quality and wildfires in Fort Collins, northern Colorado, and really the western part of the United States. But specifically to Fort Collins and the wildfires that we've been experiencing. Supposedly this last summer, we really didn't have any wildfires too close to us. Comparatively to 2 summers ago, we had the Cameron Peak fire, which was significant. I mean, in 2020 with coronavirus, I remember going to Bartle's pumpkin patch and looking to the sky and seeing it was 12 o'clock noon and it was orange. It looked like Armageddon. And with the year that we were in, uncertainty going on with coronavirus in 2020, it just was like, what is going on in this world? and you'd wake up sometimes with ash on your car. And that was a fire that was just outside of Fort Collins. Whereas the smoke, I should say, last year were supposedly coming down, the fires coming from Oregon and California. So definitely something that has not been fun the last 2 summers. Previous to that, I really can only recall a time that the last time that there was bad fires was in 2012/13. I can't remember which one it was, where me and a few friends were going on a ride up the Horsetooth Dams, and we decided that was a really bad idea because we were riding through smoke. So that was, roughly 7-8 years ago when I remember the last bad wildfire. But just here recently at the end of 2021, beginning of 2022, the Marshall Fire in Boulder, due to our arid, dry, very drought climate right now, and we had a pretty significant wildfire, the most destructive in Colorado history. I believe it destroyed 1,200 structures, displaced almost 1,000 families. So that generates a air quality that is not so fun. And on top of that, we do have a county to the west of us in to the east of us, Weld County, that does do significant oil and gas drilling, which then supposedly the air kind of carries and settles over along the foothills. Now, there are things that I think Fort Collins is working on to kind of combat these. I don't know how we're going to combat the wildfires because a lot of that is from human touch and human error. Hopefully people are understanding that these are really causing massive destruction and take huge responsibility, but you just never know. And as far as the oil and gas drilling, I can tell you that the McQuinneys just submitted for 20 plus oil sites and drill sites for fracking, but they live in northern Colorado, so my hope is that they wouldn't destroy an area that they love, but you just never know. I know there's still a lot of money in oil and gas, so if somebody's able to drill a well, I am sure that they are going to do that because cha-ching. But that does relate to a poor air quality in Fort Collins. Now, I check that more and more frequently now that I've read that article and had the comment on my YouTube channel, and I haven't necessarily noticed anything. We seem to stick in the green. Now, this is the weather app on my Apple phone. Don't know how accurate it is, but it is something that has caused kind of concern in my mind. And I do have a client that has decided to move from Fort Collins to North Carolina due to the wildfires and the potential for them to continue and get more in number. My fingers are crossed that does not occur, but we're 2 for 2 in the summer, so hopefully this summer in 2022 we go smoke-free and fire-free. That would be great. And we get back onto a every 7 to 8 year track, perpetual optimist here, whatever you want to call it. But the number one reason not to move to Fort Collins is the air quality and wildfires. So it's definitely something to take into consideration. Do your research, understand, is it something that is going to impact you and your family? And does Fort Collins still make sense for you? If it does, feel free to reach out, call, text, email if you're considering buying, selling, or investing here in Northern Colorado, as I am a licensed real estate agent. And if you found this video fun, engaging, informative, give it a thumbs up, share it with some friends, and maybe even subscribe to the channel if you're looking at learning everything there is to know about Northern Colorado and Fort Collins. Until next time, guys, take care.